Hello, it is March the 27th, and we're about 1 hour to the market open. Today I'm going to be talking about the British pound. It's my current favored currency that I want to trade, and I'll be explaining that a little bit as we go along. Let's start with some fundamentals. First off, some things we need to look at is waning interest rate expectations from the Bank of England. That, and they don't seem to be too concerned about the inflation rate rising rapidly, and we're losing confidence that they're going to raise rates anytime soon no matter what happens. So that's one thing to think about. Plus, we've got a lot of social unrest in the UK now. We've got mostly peaceful protesters marching through the streets and several anarchist protesters that are violent and causing trouble. So just a couple things to think about. But as far as events, we do have some big events coming up next week. One, really the first one that I'm going to be concerning myself with is the GDP numbers for the UK that are coming out on Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning. And I'm not going to be too concerned about much of anything else until Thursday, trading the British pound US dollar. Going to be waiting for initial jobless claims numbers and continuing jobless claims numbers, because a lot of times those can have a big impact on the market even though they're marked low volatility. Sometimes we can have a bigger move on Thursday than we do on Friday, which is of course April 1st and our non-farm payroll release for April. That should be quite exciting, and we'll be looking forward to that. Now, on the technical side, here is the British pound US dollar. I actually may take a position in the pound yen also, because I think the yen may be stronger than the dollar. Looking at technicals, I was wanting to short the euro more than the British pound, but here is a chart of the euro pound on weekly scale. And as you can see, this long-term trend line from the top, it was broke slightly by this when you put these two tops on the same line, and then came back down, but now it's more clearly broken. This could still turn around and come back, but I'm currently betting on the euro going up, or the euro not going down as fast as the British pound. So that's the reason why I'm looking at the pound. We also have this trend line on the British pound US dollar from way back in 2007 and 2008, and we hit that, and then just this last week we actually broke through that and then closed back under it again and went way below it. Now I think we have a good potential to go right back up to this trend line, but I think that will be the place to short. It's going to be riskier on the long side from here, but I'm willing to throw in a long, especially since we're at the 1.6000 figure, and that should provide some psychological support. So if we make it back up to the top here, about 162.75, that will be resistance from this point and the last high, and we should have some good follow through and at least come down to the mid 140s. And looking at this from an Elliott wave perspective, we have a pretty clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then A, B. This would be our C. Now, normally C would go beyond wave A, but you can have a truncation, which if you look back here in 2008, this was an ABC truncation. So this is actually appearing very similar to this smaller degree second wave up here. This could also be a triangle, however, but even in the case that it's a triangle, it will fall pretty sharply, and we'll get quite a bit of pips out of this. Also, if we look at it on the daily scale, we see these rising trend lines. It broke through the one smaller one from starting at 1228 of last year, and I think it'll probably come right back up through that. That isn't going to provide much resistance yet. Even if it doesn't, it'll probably still make it, although it'll just take longer for it to retrace. But looking at these trend lines, just trend line support, you don't have that trend line support until 158 and the 158 to 159 area. So we do have support right where we're at right now, along with the psychological support that I mentioned earlier. And this can be counted as a 5-wave decline. So hopefully it's done. I'm going to hop in on the long side, and we'll see if we can get some pips out of this before the major trade, longer term trade, which is going to be shorting the pound when it comes back up to the trend line. Well, that's it for the pound. Thanks for listening.